Hello, everyone. This is the most magnificent bird, Beak, speaking to you today. And in today's video, I'm back at it with some more raiding with me, Beak. And not only will we be doing some raids, but I'm also going to be going over my spoiler review of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Season 1, Episode 3, named Bye. And trust me, that name is kind of appropriate as to what happens at the end of the episode, but before we get started, I hope all of you are doing good and staying safe out there. I'm doing alright, and I'm staying safe for the most part. And yeah, let's not waste any more time. We got the raid tournament going on, and as you can see, I have a brand new avatar for the moment. So yeah, let's go ahead and not waste any more time, and let's begin, shall we? Yeah, now I was attempting a roadmap earlier. I was trying to find a roadmap to use the black coffee, and it just, it didn't really go my way, but honestly, I really don't care. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? And I'll wait about a minute or so before I actually get into the spoiler review. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to do the spoiler review. I'm going to do the spoiler review plus rating with me. And also right now the daily challenges are to win 10 raids. So why not knock out 3 things at once? Yeah, I'm gonna wait about a minute or so before I actually get into the spoiler review. That way, for anyone that doesn't want to know anything about episode 3, which I know I'm a week behind. I've already mentioned that. I mean, I'm gonna be a week behind until all 6 episodes are concluded. So just, keep that in mind. I'm behind on the reviews, but however, I'm all caught up. But we're not gonna skip ahead. No, we're gonna go episode by episode. That's the plan. Unless something comes up. I'll do 2 more raids, and then I'll get started on my spoiler review. For those that don't want to hear any spoilers, you can see some gameplay before I get into all the spoilers. Alright, I'm going to do 1 more raid, and then I'm going to get started with the spoiler review. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and get into my spoiler review of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Season 1, Episode 3, Bye. So, if you don't want to know absolutely anything, this is absolutely the time to go ahead and click off the video or mute the video if you don't want to know anything. But if you want to stick around and hear what I have to say, or if you don't care about spoilers, you may stick around if you would like to do so. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, so here is my spoiler review. So the episode starts out with a Rick and Jadis flashback. It's discovered when before Rick runs into Jadis, he is a Cassini at this time, and he happens to run, but he's walking by these food vendors, and someone is like, "Hey, can you pass me a napkin?" He looks over, and it happens to be Jadis, who at this point still has a normal ass haircut still, before she ends up getting the atrocity that she has in present time. But we'll definitely get into that. So he's like, Jadis says, "You're not a fry guy," meaning French fries, and he just, he doesn't really have a whole lot to say. And this is where we find out a little bit more information that, that when Jadis was leading the junkyard people back in season 7, we find out confirmation that her and the scavengers or the junkyard people would trade if they found people out there that are lost souls needed saving, or if there were people that were threats, they would capture them and send them, trade them to the CRM for resources, supplies, stuff that they needed to survive. So we have confirmation on that, which I'm sure people probably already guessed years ago when the CRM was first introduced. We just got confirmation on that. And, Jadis is like going on about they keep asking me what I need to ask you, whether or not that you're someone looking for someone to follow, or, she says that I could have told them that you were a threat. I could have left you on that bank side to die back in season 9. And he's just pissed at the whole situation, and he says that, I'm going home, and she keeps hanging this over his head, by the way, I saved your life, blah blah blah, right? So then we get back to present time, where Jadis continues with her threats toward Rick and his loved ones. And let's see, I have most of this written down. I'm not sure how. I'm just going to start reading between the conversation of Jadis and Rick, and I'll just stop when I feel like it, and I'll kind of get to the point. So Jadis says, this is the present time. Jadis says, "You're thinking about killing me? I will, but not today. It's funny. I see it. I feel it. Everything you made happen for yourself. Just throwing it away because you need to get in the middle. You need to get in the way. You need to get in the middle of something you have nothing to do with. I have everything to do with it. Our fates are bound. You, Michonne, me, and for you two to be the first people to ever leave, we would never stop looking for you ever. And I know where you are. So I would have to go and kill all of you to make sure that no one else got there first, and that our arrangement was somehow discovered." And you got to keep in mind, during this whole scene, Rick's got, Rick, Andrew, Lincoln, his emotions in his eyes and face is so good. So Rick says, "This was your mess. This is you. In the event of my untimely demise, I just put a little file among my possessions telling them everything they need to know about you and all the people that you love. And I imagine that a CRM reclamation team would have everyone you love die. Within hours of that file's receipt, because you and her leaving with the knowledge of that city and this force, you know that can't be had. She doesn't belong here. Then she shouldn't have come. Here. But that was her choice. So what's your choice? Will you tell me you will not try to leave again? If you try with her, everyone back home will die. Why? Why? Security and secrecy above all. And I will not jeopardize everything I've made happen for myself. I won't wait for them to find you, and they will find you, and it'll all blow back on me. Is there a deal to be made you clean it up? No. I'm a believer, Rick. She's very, very lucky. They suspect that she's an A, and they still let her in. And this is where we learn that I didn't write all of the dialogue down, because I mean, there was a whole lot to... I got the gist of it down. So this is where we learned that Thorne stepped up and she convinced the CRM that Michonne is not an A, because beforehand Rick pleads with Thorne to help the CRM, convince that Michonne's not an A, and she puts in a good word for Michonne/Dana. So there you go. Then let's see. Let me get back to... Okay, so when Jadis reveals that Thorne stepped up and convinced the CRM that Michonne wasn't an A, Jadis is actually impressed with Rick because he was able to make that kind of power play for Thorne to help him out, right? Then Rick asks Jadis, why didn't you ever threaten me or my loved ones before? And this is where Jadis confesses that Rick and Michonne can do anything together. So she pretty much says that, ooh, Rick, by yourself, I don't feel as threatened, but since she's here, yeah, both of y'all are a threat together, so I have to threaten you and your loved ones. So that's pretty much the gist of that conversation, and the emotion off of Andrew Lincoln is great. I mean, there's not any time that whenever Andrew Lincoln's been on screen where the emotion pretty much, I would say 10 out of 10 times whenever Andrew Lincoln has to get emotional as Rick Grimes, he absolutely he knocks it out of the park 100%, and he doesn't fail here, in my honest opinion, because he feels scared for not only himself but for Michonne and everybody back home. And yeah, because Jadis even knows it, that since Michonne is here, she's like, oh shit, I gotta step up my game. I gotta threaten Rick, because even she knows that despite the odds, Rick and Michonne, they could do anything. They could potentially cause a lot of mayhem together if need be. So that's why she's all of a sudden threatening Rick with all of this bullshit, right? So let's see. Okay, so Thorne stepped up, and yep, okay, I went over that. Then let's see. Okay, I don't want to get to that yet. I got my notes here. I just don't want to make sure I got anything out of order by accident. So, after Thorn steps up and helps Rick, and more importantly helps Michonne convince the CRM that she's a B, not a A. So now, you know, Michonne is a Cassini, and she's like killing walkers with other Cassinis like Rick was back in episode 1 with the wall, you know, with the wall and the torn down section of the city. So this is when Thorn goes to Rick's apartment. She has found out that, you know, Okafor has died at this point, and, you know, she's like crying. So they have Okafor's like sort of like a kind of like a funeral. I would say like a funeral service for him, and Rick, Thorn, Jadis, Beal, and all the other CRM soldiers are there, and he talks about how Okafor had this sword that he ended up giving to Beal, and how it was in a truck that was part of the bombing in Philadelphia, I want to say. And he talks about this guy named Mercer something, and so Beal's in this episode a little bit. So after that, let's see, Rick and Thorn they're talking. This is afterward. Rick and Thorn are talking, and I'll say I didn't talk about her a whole lot, only because, I don't know, I thought maybe she was going to be a minor character, but after this episode, maybe not. I guess, I don't know, we'll see. But Thorn, she's telling Rick about how Okafor found her, that she was lying on a, I don't know, something. She was floating in the ocean pretty much on an object, and then she saw this helicopter come down, and she saw Okafor come down, and she thought that he was a mirage or some crap like that. But anyway, Okafor tells Thorn that, you know, you can pretty much come with me right now, or I can kill you right here, right now. And at first, Thorn, she pretty much said that you might as well just go ahead and leave me here, because I'm probably going to die in a couple of days. So he does try to kill her, and she ends up shooting him and grazing him. So, you know, he's like impressed by that, and she just ends up going along, obviously, because she's a part of the CRM at this point. And this is when Beal, he comes into the picture, and, you know, he says to Rick that there's this Greek term that means, there's this one word, it's a Greek word that means both poison and cure, and Beal tells Rick that that's what he thinks about him when he sees him, and thinks about Rick, which is kind of interesting. At first, Beal wasn't so sure about Rick and Thorn, but then as, you know, Okafor has, you know, had a good word in for Thorn, and especially Rick, Beal's perspective is still changing, and then that's when he tells Thorn that, you know, I need to have a private word with you, and Rick just goes on with his, you know, with his duty, or whatever he's doing at the time. And then sometime later, Thorn comes to Rick's apartment and pretty much tells Rick that she got a promotion, and she's pretty much taking Okafor's position that he had before he died. So she's a command sergeant major. She's pretty much taken Okafor's old place. And then she also says that that Beal has told her that, you know, that there's this base called Cascadia Base, that it's part of the CRM, and since Thorn is getting promoted, that she tells Brick, you're gonna have to take my place in logistics at Cascadia Base. So that's a big part of the episode, which we will get to Cascadia Base. And then Thorn informs Rick that Thorn also tells Rick that Beal wanted to know about Michonne, which Michonne comes up with a last name that it starts with a B, but anyway, you know, she tells Rick that Beal is interested about Michonne and wanting to know about her, and she says out of 17,000 Cassines that Michonne is on Beal's and the CRM's radar. So there you go. And after Thorn leaves, that's when Rick decides he pulls up one of his couch cushions, and he's got all of this stuff hidden in one of his couch cushions, and he decides to make a plan to escape with Michonne. And the next day he ends up finding a way to hand her a note and tells her, look, pretty much, we're gonna get out tonight, meet me here, we'll go there. And he says, go to this Pacific locker because I left you a little surprise. And when she goes to the locker, it's her old sword that he was able to sneak away from, from the weapons and stuff that they've collected. So, yeah, he was able to get that because he's definitely a little bit more trusted, but they still got their eye on Rick, obviously, but he's a little bit more trusted at this point. So there's these demolition charges that go off that are they're gonna go off that very night. So Rick thinks of that perfect opportunity to go ahead and escape while those demolition charges are gonna go off, because the demolition charges are going to clear off a section that they can easily escape. And Michonne goes there, but Rick, he gets there first, but Michonne is supposed to meet Rick at this rendezvous point near a river, and she gets there, but as you can see, he's killed a walker that has one of those Cassini jackets on and has left the walker in the water. And then Rick leaves Michonne another note saying that, look, I changed my mind. I can't go with you. If you love me, you will go now. That way you can, this is your only chance to get back to see Judith. So yeah, so that threat, that pretty ominous threat by Jadis, made him, essentially change his mind, even though he wants to go so bad. So the next morning after that unfolds, Rick tells Jadis that, look, I made it look like Michonne died, so when the CRM discovers that Dana/Michonne is missing, make sure that you're on lead, that you are on investigation to make sure that you find Michonne/Dana. And she's like, you know what, as it happens, I have to go to Cascadia Base. She's like, thank God. But when I get the call, I'll make sure I'm first on the scene. But, you better make sure no other shit goes on before then, pretty much. Then Rick is going around, and Thorn, who is watching the co-signees killing the walkers like they do every day, Thorn notices Rick is coming up behind her, and she says that you're in trouble, Major, and he looks to see that Michonne didn't leave. Yep, she never left, so that's gonna create a problem, because he didn't already told Jadis that Michonne died. Pretty much she fell off a cliff, hit her head, and, walkers tore her apart. And, well, there she is right there killing walkers the next morning like nothing happened the previous day. And she's taking her frustration out on the walkers because Rick lied to her, but she doesn't know. The thing is, Michonne doesn't know the whole story about why he suddenly just changed his mind, right? So she doesn't understand that. So she's mad, and I kind of get that. So it sucks for her because she doesn't know the whole story. She doesn't know the whole picture of what exactly is going on as to why Rick is all of a sudden not wanting to get the hell out of there. You know what I mean? So, Thorn has convinced the CRM is a bee, but yet she's killing walkers like she's strong, like she's a leader, like the leader and the strong person that she is, but Rick wanted to hide that for obvious reasons, and after they get done killing the walkers, Thorn pretty much tells Rick that, look, I told them, that Michonne told me that she was looking for safety in numbers, but then she says to Rick, it doesn't look like she needs safety in numbers to me. So she's kind of catching on to, maybe Michonne's not exactly the weak person that she said she was when she first arrived, and that's kind of, that's going to maybe, cause problems. So now, let's see. Yeah, no, I don't want to get to that yet. Okay, I'm just checking my notes here. Okay, that's a little bit after. Okay, so we're going to kind of skip a little bit ahead to the, for the episode. We're getting toward kind of the middle point. So Thorn tells Michonne, well, Dana, at this point that, I got something to show you. Me and Rick have something to show you. And there's this city that was bombed, or this little town that was bombed, that Okafor first took Rick and Thorn to, since Thorn has essentially taken Okafor's place. She and Rick take Michonne there, and at this point, she is pretty much suspecting that Michonne isn't a B, but rather that she's an A at this point, and she questions Michonne like, you were running through the woods and you just happened to save a CRM soldier? Like, why did you save this CRM soldier, referring to Rick? And she says that it looked like he needed my help, and, I was going to kill him at first, but then he just seemed so helpless, and she's like, helpless? Him being helpless? I can't imagine him ever being helpless. Well, Thorn, I gotta tell you, you weren't around for season 7, so you have no idea. Negan absolutely brought Rick to his knees during that whole season 7, a little bit of season 8, but mostly season 7, so you have no idea, Thorn. So then she's talking about, then Thorn mentions that at this point, she's just like going on and on about, about how do we know that you're not a B, pretty much, she's not saying anything threatening, but she, at this point, Thorn is pretty much threatening Michonne, and even to the point where Thorn, she has her knife behind her, and she pulls it out, and it looks like she's gonna want to get ready to try to kill Michonne, but then, you know, she says, like, you know, people who aren't A's, who aren't leaders, don't have to work, don't have to farm, don't have to kill walkers. All they have to do is go around and read and find answers, and, you know, Thorn pretty much tells Michonne that, look, if you want to know the answers, pretty much, you know, do you want to know the answers? You know, what would you say? And Michonne says, yeah, you know, I'll be glad to take all the answers that I can get. And then that's when, during all of this, when Thorn has her knife behind her back, Rick, he pulls out his gun because, like, hey, if Thorn's gonna try to go after my woman, hey, I won't hesitate, you know? So, but nothing happens, and she puts her knife back, and Rick puts his gun back. So, tensions are starting to boil pretty much at this point, and then, like, Thorn tells Michonne that, you know, you can go back to the car. So that's when Rick, that's when Thorn talks to Rick, and that's pretty much, she pretty much confirms her suspicions that, look, to me, it doesn't seem like Dana is a B at all. The way she can handle herself back there with the other Cassines, it seems like to me that, you know, she's pretty much an A. That's pretty much that she's letting Rick know that she thinks that she's no longer a B. So, after that, they all, Rick, Thorn, Michonne, and other CRM soldiers pretty much get all of their stuff together and get all of their weapons and all that good stuff ready to go to Cascadia base, because pretty much all of the CRM leaders, decision makers, all of the CRM are pretty much meeting at Cascadia base, and there's this fog and in the fog there are these walkers. They call them deltas, but walkers, just, you know, but yeah, so they're called, obviously, you know, they call them deltas, but they're walkers, obviously. And at this point, they have to direct and pretty much take out the walkers, because they are advancing toward this barricade, and if they get past the barricade, they all their plans are pretty much back to zero. So they have to go in the fog to take out the walkers, and then they get there. They're getting to the base ahead of the important CRM people and all this stuff. So they get to the area where the walkers are advancing toward the barricade, and they have this big explosive device it's a distraction. I thought it was like a machine for a distraction, but it is an explosive, as we'll find out later. So Thorn, she's pushing, I think it's Thorn. Thorn is pushing the big explosive machine, but it gets stuck, and they all take care of, you know, Thorn, Rick, and the other CRM soldiers are taking care of the walkers, but since Michonne is a Cassini, she's not supposed to advance and help them take care of walkers. She's supposed to be on the lookout for what they call no kills, and that's pretty much for walkers they might have not necessarily killed. That's what she's supposed to do, but as stubborn and lovely as Michonne is, she decides to help anyway, even though she's not supposed to. and she pushes the explosive device ahead, and then it ends up getting stuck, so she ends up helping them, and she's like, Thorn is like, Cassini, whatever, Michonne. She doesn't say Michonne, but she's like, Michonne, stand down. You're not supposed to be helping us kill walkers, even though she clearly can, but that's Michonne for you. Hey, Michonne and Rick, they are stubborn when they want to be, and clearly, sorry y'all, I was charging my phone, I just had to check the charge, but anyway, so she's advancing and helping get the explosive machine to where it's got to go, and she, Rick ends up helping her set the machine off to lure the walkers there, and then Michonne and Rick momentarily get out of sight of Thorn and the other CRM soldiers, and then they momentarily, in all of that chaos going on, they make out a little bit, and then Michonne is like, why don't we go now? Let's go now. And Rick's like, no, I can't. We got to stay here. So they get back into distance with Thorn and the other CRM soldiers, and the machine, blows up, and Thorn has Michonne in her sights, so Michonne's killing walkers, and Thorn is hanging back, and she's got her rifle aimed at Michonne, and she's actually going to kill Michonne right here and there. And Rick, he sees this. He sees what Thorn is getting ready to do, so he steps in front of Thorn's line of sight with a walker in front of him and kills the walker, and then that's when Thorn puts down her rifle, and then, they clear the walkers, they, get a victory, great. They clear the walkers, and their plans aren't going to go to zero. They're not going to go to shit. So Rick is like, after all of that, he gets mad. He's like, what the hell are you thinking? Or that's what I would, that's something I would say for sure. But he's thinking like, what the hell are you doing thinking? And Thorn says that, she's a vulnerability. I can't have that. I can't have her pulling me down. So, yeah, it seems like Thorn, I was kind of wondering if she was going to maybe be a potential ally to Rick, but hell no. After her almost wanting to shoot Michonne, nah. Thorn is clearly a CRM believer, just like Jadis. I'm like, oh hell no! First chance y'all get, you got to eliminate Thorn. Yeah, I'm sorry, but hey, you tried to kill the queen. You tried to kill the zombie queen, Michonne. Nah, you got to go. Nah, sorry, that ain't cutting it for me personally. So yeah, they get back to Cascadia base after they've cleared the walkers, and that's where Jadis sees Rick, and Rick pretty much says to Jadis, if you help her, what, I should go back a little bit, because I forgot to mention this, and I'm glad this was mentioned in the episode, but when Rick mentions that Michonne died, he tells Jadis that pretty much you need to be on investigation when Michonne is missing, and he tells Jadis that you'll be a hero, a good soldier with a shit haircut. I loved that someone commented on her pretty shitty haircut. I mean, come on. If there's anyone that Jadis needs to threaten, it's not Rick. No. She needed to threaten the fucking barber that did her hair. I mean, come on. with the hairstyle that Jadis had before, the ugly haircut she has now, the haircut honestly didn't look too bad compared to what she has now. So Jadis is... Okay, so let's go back. Let's get back to where we were. Jadis is at Cascadia Base, but she was already there, I believe. So yeah, she's there, and she pretty much tells, Rick, a job well done with the walkers, with the deltas at the barricade, and she looks over and sees Michonne, and she's like, I haven't seen her, and she wants to make sure that Michonne sees her with Rick. At this point, she is trying to pretty much... Jadis gets under Michonne's skin, and she looks all shocked when after she looks like once or... She looks twice. She looks either twice or 3 times, but after looking more than once... After she realizes who Rick is talking to, she gets fired up, buddy. She gets fucking mad. She really does, Michonne, and she's like, Jadis, like what the hell's going on, right? So we're getting toward the end of the episode. We're pretty much at the end of the episode. Rick, Rick is like telling Michonne, look, you're not gonna start no shit, so I'm gonna take you back to where we were. I'm gonna put you on the helicopter, and I'm gonna take you back myself, so you don't start no shit here at Cascadia Bay, pretty much. So they're up in the helicopter, it's thundering and lightning, it's raining. And Michonne, she's got that mad look, like, hey, I don't know what the hell's I don't know what's going on with you, but you're not explaining nothing. You're not explaining a damn thing to me. And I can understand it from her perspective, but she doesn't know the whole picture right now. So Michonne, this is how the episode ends. Michonne decides to open the helicopter door, and she pushes Rick out of the helicopter with her. They both go flying out of the helicopter, and that's how the episode ends. Yes! Like, wow, like, damn, Michonne. You know what? I will say, it's probably a potential good thing that she did that, as we will talk about in the next spoiler review. So there you go. Jadis threatens Rick. He makes comments about her haircut and how shitty it is. And Thorne tries to kill Michonne. And Jadis gets under Michonne's skin, and Michonne is so mad at Rick by the end of the episode that she willingly pushes Rick and herself out of the helicopter to get away from the CRM. And spoiler alert, they're both fine. Like, they're not gonna die in the middle of their spinoff. That would be so stupid. So for anybody that might not be smart enough to know, no, Rick and Michonne are fine. They land in some water. So, there you go. Because the next episode is pretty good. But we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to talk about that next time. So, let's see. $75, my ass. Okay. So, we completed that. Plus, let's see. Great. So we got 8,000. Wonderful. Alright. So I'll collect them for now. Alright. I don't think I have anything else to add other than... Okay. One thing I do have to add is who the potential villain or villains might be. I was thinking Bill at first, which I'm sure he's going to be a villain. Sorry about that. I was just unplugging my phone. But yeah, Bill, I don't think he's going to be the main villain, but he's definitely going to be a villain. I'm still sticking with Jadis being the main antagonist for the ones who live. And honestly, I'm not mad at that because it makes absolute sense in my opinion, because you know, the connection of Rick and Michonne knowing Jadis from the main series and the fact that it's not a brand new character being the villain, I can't be mad at that. Honestly, it makes total sense. It's a callback. It ties in with the main series. So, I can't be mad at it. And it seems like Thorne, it seems like she's going to go full villainy. Absolutely. Hey, she threatened to kill the Queen Slayer of Zombies, Michonne. That, sorry, that don't fly with me. Thorne, any potential that you might have had to be an ally, nah, that shit, that went out the window when you, absolutely not. But yeah, I'm still gonna stick with Jadis, probably, more than likely, being the main antagonist of the ones who live. Now, the question is, will we get a season 2? Or is this just going to be one season? And maybe they're going to do something else that connects, you know, Rick and Michonne and the communities with Jadis and the CRM. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see for all of that confirmation. But, yeah, that's all I got for you guys for today. What are your thoughts on The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live so far? Are you loving it? Are you not liking it, maybe as you did when it first came on? Or are you not caught up? Whatever thoughts you have on The Ones Who Live, let me know down in the comments. So far, I'm loving it. I absolutely am. I absolutely am loving this spinoff so far. It definitely blows Dead City out of the water, without a doubt. It's maybe in contention of surpassing Daryl Dixon, maybe, but I'll make that final judgment when we have a complete season. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe, just maybe. But if you have any thoughts on The Ones Who Live, feel free to let me know down below. I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by and for your continued support. Or if you're new, welcome in for the first time. All of you are very awesome, and I thank you again. And don't forget to hit the bell and switch on all notifications so you know the second I upload to YouTube. I am Beak, and I'm gonna go fly away back to my nest. Until next time, bye guys.